Hey, what's up, YouTube family? Long time coming. I've been speaking about making this content about this book for a while, and I decided today is the day. Today we're going to read out an ancient mystic, original Masonry, its teachings, rules, laws, and present usages, which govern the order at the present day. So this is a book that has a lot of interesting things inside of it that have to do with America, mostly. But it also presents a lot of things that we've been coming to know about America, and it goes against a lot of what we've been taught and what we thought to be true. It does. It's a lot of interesting things inside here, and it's going to make you go, it's going to make you think. It's going to make you say, you know what, let me go research this some more. That's what this is about. So there's a lot of information in here, and we are in the age of information, the age of Aquarius. I'm not an astrologer or anything like that, and I'm not into astrology, but I hear people say that a lot, and it may be true, but we are for sure in the age of information. Some of the things that you're reading here, we've heard about. It's been coming to the light. So I have my own opinion in regards to the information in this book, but I sure would like for you to make your own conclusion and, do the research yourself. Like I said, I'm here to present the information. I'm not here to, get you to think this way or that way, but I'm simply here to present the information, and I want you to do the research. You do the research too, and say, you know what, this is not true, or this is true. So I'm just putting it in your hands, and I want you to do whatever you like to do with this information. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So the next page is going to be 3 through I think 5 or 6 with bullet points of information. I don't know where the first 2 bullet points are, but this is the only the information I'm presenting to you is what I could find of this book. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. The ancient and mystic Oriental rite is universal and is open to every master mason who believes in the fatherhood of God and the universal brotherhood of all men. The other qualifications necessary of the neophyte is that he shall be honorable and upright in his dealings. The cradle of the symbolism used in all masonry is placed by many of the best authorities in that country, which they believe was first inhabited, the plateau of Tartary, and from there transmitted to this generation by the sages of India, Persia, Ethiopia, and Egypt. We are not indebted to either ancient Egypt for either religion or masonry, but to America. America. Interesting. It is a fact that at Memphis, Egypt, and the pyramids, under the guidance of the kings, the mystic rites of masonry were worked by many thousands of years ago. But at that time, Egypt and the continent of America were one and the same. Interesting. In America, rediscovered in the 15th century, and repopulated in the 17th, was recovered Egypt and the Promised Land, or the land of the constellation of the eagle. What's on the back of that dollar? Isn't there an eagle on the back of that dollar? Okay. No matter how numerous or complicated the works of Allah may be, if but the right key be applied, the Great Pyramid proves to be the long-sought key to the mysteries at once of mythology and of the great world religions, especially interesting as it is to Americans in this year of the Columbian celebration of the 400th anniversary of the rediscovery of America, to see it demonstrated that the cosmic terrors. So it's going to go on to the next page, and we're going to go ahead and get there. But as so far, hey, a lot of this information has already been out there, and it could be researched, and I believe affirmed. So we're learning a lot. And this information is really interesting. So let's go ahead and go to the next page. Okay, this is the continuation. Interwoven with the very deep and woof of all sacred literature, Christian and pagan, refer to occurrences as literally true as the earthquake of Lisbon, these stupendous events being connected primarily with a great destruction and recovery of equilibrium in the solar system, and secondly, with the consequent wrecking of the continent of America when the globe became involved in the consequences of the disorder of the skies. America, known to the mystic as Atlantis, when the ruin befell was the seat of the greatest empire that has ever existed, and its irresistible armies were terrorizing all of Europe and Asia. Study of the American constellations Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Capricornus reveals the immemorial antiquity of the name of America and the significance of the arms of the United States. The facts once recognized that it is impossible to separate the eagle from America. The land shadow with wings of Isaiah, over which accordingly appeared two grand eagles, the red swan flying down the Milky Way, and the winged steeds, Sagacious and Equus, all the wings known to astronomy without taking the bear from Russia. Perseus from Persia, and the flood of light is poured upon the history and mythology, and where heretofore much has been very vague and inscrutable, now we are able at least to see man as trees walking. When following the course of the constellations, those immovably and perpetually fasted upon America are reached. It will appear that while all that is sublime in the historic past centers upon Egypt, all that is sublime in the historic past centers upon, let's go ahead and get to that next page, America, Atlantis, as the certain which has hitherto concealed the prehistoric connection between the peoples of ancient Egypt and of America is lifted. It would be seen that the people of the eagle on the Nile, being descended from the original people of the eagle on this continent, the twain are one in that prehistoric America was the original Egypt or Eagle Land prior to the mighty dispensation and the days of Peleg, when the earth was divided and the great globe itself was nearly rent asunder. Says Agassiz, firstborn among continents, America, the firstborn among continents, not the new world, has been falsely dominated the new world. Hers was the first dry land lifted out of the waters. Hers was the first shore washed by the ocean that enveloped all the earth besides. And while Europe was represented only by islands rising here and there above the sea, America, Atlantis, already stretched in an unbroken line of land from Nova Scotia to the far west. America was evidently people from the old continent, because there were only 8 persons saved at the deluge. And I think that's speaking about the story of, I believe that's speaking about the story of Moses. Not the story of Moses, I'm sorry. That's speaking about the earth being flooded and man being repopulating the earth. America's evidently people from the old continent, because there were only 8 persons saved from the deluge. The particular part of their posterity during the whole of the first century after that event occupied the very center of Asia. Some say that America was peopled by the Carthaginians, who possessed the Cape Verde Islands, which are only 3 weeks' sail from the continent. Their ships, having women and children on board, might miss the intended islands before the invention of the compass. Now, when the earth was flooded, I can't remember the name. It escapes me of how the earth was repopulated and who was on that. Noah. I'm sorry, Noah. Noah. That was the story of Noah that they were speaking of, on how Noah was able to repopulate the earth with his family. So let's go ahead and move on to the next page here. And if so, they will inevitably be driven by the trade winds to the coast of America. Others, judging from the similarity of some religious rites, have conjectured that it was peopled by the 10 tribes at the dispersion of Israel. Now, I've heard that America was populated by the 10 tribes of Israel, by the lost tribes of Israel. I have heard information in regards to that. So it is possible. Some think it is received its population from China or Japan. Others that it was colonized by some wandering tribes of Japheth, who penetrated into the trackless regions of North America by the Straits of Asia. Speaking of the Native Americans, that's what they're talking about. Some have been bold enough to assert that America was not inundated at the deluge, and that, consequently, the Aborigines were antediluvians, and the most ancient people on the earth, which last assertion is correct. Others suppose that there were few individuals preserved in the vast continent of the deluge, that it might be without difficulty repeopled. And we are told that America was peopled after the deluge at the same time, as it were, with other parts of the earth I'm butchering this word, y'all, equidistant from the spot where the ark is acknowledged to have grounded. For the grand division of the eastern and western hemispheres, through the natural effect of causes operating from the deluge, did not take place till about half a century after that event. And thus a subject, this has uniformly puzzled the most learned historians and philosophers, and even ground for the most elaborate dissertations, namely, the manner by which America was populated, appears to be made simple and easy, as are all those questions that are submitted to the ordeal of truth, the infallible attestations of Holy Writ. Robertson supposed the Americans to have derived from the original Asiatics, and supports his conjecture by some ancient traditions amongst the Mexicans, which ascribe their primitive population to a horde from a remote country to the northwest, whose gradual progress from the northern coast, where they landed, to the interior provinces is distinctly traced. And in the infancy of Christianity, Mexico is said to have been on a more advanced state of civilization than Denmark, Sweden, and Russia, and Mexico, which is part of America. From what people soever Americans descended, or in whatever manner the vast continent was originally furnished with human beings, it is certain that the first inhabitants brought with them a system of mysteries which they applied to the purposes of religious worship. And though this system in process of time was almost entirely lost amongst the scattered tribes which led an erratic life in its deepest wilds, yet many of the truths on which it was founded were preserved in a deteriorated form by the two great nations which had planted themselves on each side of the Isthmus of Panama. The people who erected the obelisks in Egypt and covered them with hieroglyphics, who wrapped mummies, embalming them with the greatest care, knew no more about the pyramid builders than we do today. Meaning the Egyptians knew nothing about the pyramid builders. Maybe that when they were there, they didn't know who built the pyramids. These majestic, voiceless sentinels, the pyramids, with heads uncovered and lifted heavenward, stood there on the broad plain, silent and dumb, with no one to explain their origin, when Egyptian civilization began. We're going to continue on this, but I will say that there's a lot of information in here that even I'm learning now and that I'll be researching later. But then there's a lot of information in here which I already knew, such as America being the home of the tribes of Israel, and America being the real Holy Land, America being the first continent. Those things I was already studying, and which I think that this, somewhat affirms what I've been studying. So let's go ahead and get moving on to the next page. Out of this, there could be no doubt. The pyramids were built by Atlanteans long centuries before Egypt was a civilized country. Interesting. Why then were they built in Egypt instead of on some part of what is now America? Because Egypt was then the center of the earth, and the Atlanteans, with their vast knowledge, sought the center. For that will stand as long as time. That no one knew why the pyramids were built as a wrong conclusion, for we of the mystic order of Masonry know that they were built for no other purpose than for supreme initiation. For it must be remembered that there have ever been two religions founded on the one principle, the one for the priests and the other for the people. Not only does the initiation in the mystic Oriental Masonry explain the very foundation of all religions, but it gives the key to the pyramids and unlocks the doors of the same. The shape of the pyramid itself has one of the deepest meanings to the initiates. A pyramid, the triangular form of it, signifies fire, and the cubical form, the earth visited by fire. Fire in turn signifies love, God, the fatherhood of God. Could the initiates have built a more lasting monument to the fact that they, above all others, know God as but few men know him at the present day? The Egyptian pyramids excite in us the feeling of the sublime, not only on account of their special vastness, but also of their great age. We feel ourselves dwarfed to insignificance in their presence, and yet reveal in the pleasure of contemplating them in the presence of such a monument of ancient times, which has outlived the knowledge of itself. We stand as senseless and stupid as the brute in the presence of the action of man, or as a man before something written is an old effort of his own, the key to which has forgotten. For who all believe that those who at incalculable cost set in action the human powers of many thousands for many years in order to construct the pyramids, which have already existed for thousands of years, could have had in view the short span of their own life, too short to let them see the finishings of the construction, or even the ostensible end which the ignorance of many required them to allege clearly. Their real end was to speak to their latest descendants, to put themselves in communication with these, and so to establish the unity on the consciousness of humanity. It is further certain that so much science, labor, and treasure as were required for erecting so extraordinary and gigantic a structure would not have been expended by men so skillful and ingenious as its builders were, without an end in view fully commensurate in their own minds with the magnitude of the project. Hence, if astronomy shows that the Great Pyramid was planned with reference to a relation between Allion and the Pleiades and some pole star, possibly Alpha Draconis, obviously that relation must have been of the highest importance in the cosmical system of the builders, the veritable key, perhaps, to all the wisdom of antiquity. I hope you guys understood that last one more than I did, because honestly, I did not. There were some parts of this where I was understanding it, and there were some parts of this where I was like, okay, this is a little too deep for me. But overall, I think this is very interesting. I think this is worth a read. I think this is worth studying upon, taking some of the key words in this book and just kind of expounding on it with your studies, kind of looking further into the meanings of a lot of the things and the phrases and what's said in this book. America being Atlantis, America being populated by the tribes of Israel, America being the firstborn among the continents, America being Egypt, the original Egypt. I think all these things are worth investigating, because I've heard all these things and I've read information, I've listened to lectures that affirm all of these things. So America being named the New World was named new because a new people had discovered it, not because it was actually a new world. So they named it the New World to disconnect the original people from that world. So it just makes sense. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you made it through this entire video, entire piece of content, I appreciate it. If you didn't, I totally understand. This is my first time having some content this long, and it was a little bit trying for me too. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you. So please like, share, and subscribe. It's your favorite black guy from Nebraska. Yes, there's black people in Nebraska, and I'll be coming with some more content later on, because I got like 4 more books shipped in from Amazon yesterday, and I'm excited to bring this information to you. So I appreciate you for staying with me this long. I'll see you on the next one. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm out.